Hi, welcome back to our GW interview series. Today we're here with Mr. Fraser Jackson. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Just taught some bassoonists, so I'm doing well.
Great, yeah, he just had a workshop with our bassoonist last period. So, your album Bassoonatics remains to be one of the all-time best-selling bassoon albums. How has being a professional bassoon player affected your perspective on composition, performance, or any other aspect of your career?
Well, that's a big question. I think, I think I'm really lucky to be a professional musician. I think all of us who stick with it start with just a love of music, and that is not always enough. You know, a lot of other stuff goes into it, but I think for me, I still love what I'm doing. I'm getting close to retirement age, so I have to leave the symphony at some point. But and that's why I think it's been important for me to always have other interests outside the symphony. So the Bassoonatics album was a lot of fun, and that was a bassoon quartet that we had outside of the symphony. And all of the arranging that I did that went into that project I still do arranging, and that's one of the things I really love doing. And probably when I eventually leave the symphony, I'll end up doing more of that. So whatever part of music really fires you up is where you should go.
Yeah, that's great. When you teach, what is the single most important idea you try to plant into your students? Something you hope that will carry forward with them, or even like when they move on to maybe being professional musicians?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, again, I try to make sure my students are enjoying music. You know, it's hard because at a certain point you need a lot of discipline, you just have to be practicing a lot and a lot of attention to detail, but I think you have to try to keep that in a balance so that there's still something enjoyable going on. I think, and I've heard that from some of my students that is something they got from me. Ignored all kinds of other things, but they did get the fact that there's something about music that really makes them happy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was it like performing in your Baroque bassoon group, Musica Franca? What is it about the Baroque music group that you enjoy?
Yeah, that was a great project. So what was unusual about that group was that we were playing Baroque repertoire for bassoon, but what was unusual was that we were using the contrabassoon as one of the continuo instruments. So that's very unusual, and I don't know of any other groups that have done that. So that was really that was a real thrill because Baroque music it's interesting to play because there's so much improvisation or so much creativity that can go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Baroque composers wrote very little down. They basically wrote the notes and numbers to tell you what the harmony was, but the rest of it was really up to the performers. So we just created these continuo groups that, in one of our CDs it was contrabassoon with theorbo and organ, which is a super cool sound, and we just had a great time recording those pieces because it was something really unusual, and those are fun.
Since you mentioned Baroque music has a lot of like solo and improvising, what was it like composing for that?
I didn't actually do a lot of the composing for that project. That was a lot of the creativity was from the soloists on those albums, but it was, and in the moment too. We had these great collaborators. The organist Richard Parier that came from Quebec City, just super inventive, really creative with what he was doing on the organ, and so that was so much fun because every take, every performance was a bit different, and you never knew what he was going to do. So that was fun. Yeah.
Okay, going back to your teaching, what is the most rewarding part of being a music teacher for bassoon?
I think it's introducing the bassoon to people who've probably never even heard of it. You know, that's fun. And I think just revealing to people what an interesting instrument it is. And I mean, it's really not for everybody. It's really a quirky instrument that has a lot of problem solving involved in it. You know, there are a lot of things that are just not logical, and so it's really fun to explore all that with students, because it's the bassoon attracts a certain kind of person, and it's sort of fun just meeting those people.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any like feedback or words of advice for someone who might be interested in playing bassoon?
Yeah, there's I would say to get some lessons pretty early on, because there's a lot of aspects to the bassoon that are hard to learn otherwise. But these days there's some really good teaching going on YouTube. There's some teachers doing really good videos. I've run into people now that have never had a private teacher, and yet they play the bassoon really well, thanks to YouTube. So there's a lot to explore out there, for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming and being interviewed.
Sure,
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.